have to offer you. So what do you say? Based on what I just explained to you and the perks that were outlined, are you ready to come and play for the winning team?
Leave the TurboGrafx? Leave my family? My home? I mean, I was created to promote the system. They gave me a life. They gave me 3 titles where I got to be the main character. There's a sense of family here, and you don't just walk away from family. I'm in.
Welcome back to my series on video games we missed out on. This month's video is brought to you by the Nintendo Seal of Quality. Thanks to this shining logo of righteousness, the NES was able to steer clear of bad game. Okay, so maybe one game. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait, just give me a second. Oh, what the hell? How did the Seal of Quality help out here? When the TurboGrafx came out, it was missing a few things. Good marketing, a lineup of game titles tailor-made for the US gamer, a really good pack-in title, not this crap, a second freaking controller port, and a mascot. Nintendo had Mario. Sega had... What the hell did they have? Wasn't Wonder Boy. Believe it or not, it wasn't even Alex Kidd. Sega's first mascot was initially Professor Asobin? Asobin? How the hell do you pronounce that? They then went through a few others before finally settling with Sonic. But I digress, I will be covering Sega the company on a video down the road. The TurboGrafx or the PC Engine had no mascot upon its release. For a while, many associated the Hudson B as its main logo. So when Bonk finally made his debut, he quickly became the Turbo mascot. He did eventually make the jump to the competition towards the end life cycle of the NES and the Super NES. I get it though, from a business standpoint, you gotta sell yourself while the iron's hot, baby. The cool glasses, the fame, the cars. But there is one game we never got an official release of here in the West. Super Bonk 2. The game was officially released in Japan in 1995 and was developed by Red Entertainment, which is the same as Red Company, they just changed their name for some reason. The game consists of 6 stages, each with their own boss fight, and they're all broken up into 3 different sections. Also, the game now incorporates mid-level save point versus the series' original method of respawning after each death right where you died. Some might be turned off by this feature though, and I can kind of understand why. Bonk 2 also relies heavily on transformations as its overall gameplay mechanic. Now, this isn't the first time that this gimmick has been used though. The Game Boy title Bonk's Revenge, which shares the name of its TurboGrafx counterpart but is a completely different game, was one of the first Bonk titles that used the transformation power-ups as well, having Bonk transform... Oh, what the hell? Did the Earth just break into 2 parts? How are you supposed to fix that? Why is Bonk in space? Why is he Okay, wait. Concentrate. I'm getting way off track here. Oh yeah, Super Bonk 2. So by grabbing different items, Bonk will turn into the following. Meat turns him into Angry Bonk, which does tie into all the scientific studies that clearly state that anger comes from red meat. This allows him to smash his head into the ground and causes a fire wave. Do not try this at home. Banging your head into ground causes bad stuff. Concussion. I should know. What me was talking about? Oh yeah, making omelets. So if you grab 2 Candy turns Bonk into teeny tiny Bonk, which I like to call Bonky.
Hello.
This one allows you to shout out letters, that you can use to get past obstacles because, you know, sure, why not? Boy, if Candy had that effect on me, I'd be smaller than a freaking atom particle right now. Pink Meat turns Bonk into Cute Bonk, which lets him double jump while wearing a tutu. Not touching that one. An egg allows Bonk to become Fester Bonk, or Bird Bonk, which makes him fly. Wait, what? Why does he look like this? What nightmarish inspiration fueled this concept? My god. Green Meat turns Bonk into Thief Bonk. You know, last time I ate green meat, I ended up in the hospital. Bonk, however, turns into a thief who can shoot smiley faces wearing glasses. But I ended up in the ER, so clearly I did something wrong. It was me. A shovel turns Bonk into the shoveler. Okay, maybe not. This power-up actually does make sense. It allows Bonk to shovel through blocks by putting a drill on his head. Wait a minute, so why is it a shovel and not a drill? You know, I'm actually shocked it didn't transform me into an astronaut that fires flamed arrows or some other crazy thing, because, you know, bonk. And finally we got shades, or sunglasses if you will, which allow Bonk to turn into Frog Bonk. Because, you know, remember that time that you put on some shades and you turned into a frog? Don't you remember? Happened to me yesterday. This power allows you to grab stuff that is normally out of reach. The problem I have with the different transformations here is that they are mostly there for show. They're nice to look at and some are nice to play with, but the problem is that the levels are not really tailor-made to justify them. The only one that is actually put to good use is the bird transformation. Oh dear lord. Please stop. The other powers are barely useful. I still can't find a good reason to turn into the thief, other than to maybe see Bonk get that scruffy look and the funny looking stare animation. The different meats are also scattered throughout the stage quite often, which makes getting them almost pointless and they lose their luster. 1 second you can be Thief Bonk and then hit another flower and then become Angry Bonk. Yet neither power is really there to help you out other than to just cram them into the level design to, I don't know, I guess keep it from getting monotonous? Look, don't get me wrong, they can be fun, but when you are transforming to a different Bonk every minute or so and having to sit through the transformation animation for the 10th time, it gets a little annoying. Some stages you will also be taking on specific transformations like a penguin or a zombie, which add to the zany backdrop that the Bonk franchise is known for. Now these here actually make more sense since they are directly tied to what is going on around you and the level. The small Bonk transformation would have been much more interesting had I found sections of the level that I can maybe get into as I was small and allow me to backtrack and find additional parts to a level, or maybe even, I don't know, hidden areas. While there are some sections that do this with the flight transformation, it is not done often, or when it is done, it's not very well designed. The transformations are fun to use, but you will not be holding on to them for very long. Speaking of stages, there are a total of 6 of them, along with some hidden bonus stages that are tailor-made to use with a specific Bonk power-up. You have an overworld that shows Bonk as he travels from stage to stage, but you can't backtrack as you could in Super Mario World. What a shame. Each stage takes place in different areas that the Super Famicom's capabilities are more than perfect for in presenting, with extremely vibrant colors and nice looking parallax scrolling that the console is known for and was seldom seen in the less capable TurboGrafx system. There are tons of colorful obstacles, enemies, and you will be traversing horizontally and vertically to keep things interesting. Plenty of platforming here as well, and on top of that, you will be traversing up waterfalls and even underwater, as Bonk puts his prehistoric skills to the test. You know, this little dude sure is versatile. There's also some hidden areas that will sometimes have a small flower. If you touch the flower, you will be transported to a bonus screen where you spin a wheel to see what bonus you get to play. Some of these are quite fun, like the one where you are a tank that can just rampage through a small town, destroying everything in your path. That Bonk oversized head is sure to cause many nightmares, but the bonus level is fun. Some stages you will also have to think outside the box to get past certain points, like this one here, where you literally have to grab onto a pole on this pig-looking thing and rotate it by spinning it around and get it to fly. Don't ask, just don't ask. Some stages have trains and tech stuff. So you know what? I'm glad to see the developers didn't tie themselves down to the prehistoric era and instead just, I don't know, went all out on the ridiculous scale. Does it make sense? Nope, not at all. But it does add a ton of charm to the game. During the first cutscene, you will get a look at the 5 bosses you will eventually be going head to head with at the end of each stage. The boss fights are also fun to figure out and see in action. The designs of each one are quite different from one another. I'm not going to show them all here, obviously. And their attack patterns and how they interact with the area are really neat to watch as you fight each one of them. Bonk on the Super NES also went with a smaller sprite selection, so don't expect super huge oversized boss encounters. But their silly contraptions and huge play area will allow you plenty of space to figure out what needs to be done to get past that boss. The same goes for the entire game. If you see one of the older Turbo Bonk titles next to this one, you're gonna see a difference immediately. I think it was the right choice since it gives the developers more room to design the levels and provide more visual cues to the player on what paths are available to take. This is something that is basically the essential on a platformer of this type. The controls here feel a little more floaty than the Turbo titles, at least they did for me. Bonk has a slight startup acceleration to his walk, much the same way Faxanadu had on the NES. I don't know if anybody out there played that one. There are a slight few frames of animation that take a split second to speed up as you start to walk. Same for when stopping. Bonk does not come to a halt on a dime. And it was something that took a little bit of getting used to, but it doesn't break the game at all. Bonk also has a few new moves like a dash button, the ability to crouch, a shinobi type wall bounce or head bounce, and a sliding maneuver that gets past certain points in the game. The soundtrack here is nothing revolutionary. Get it? Revolutionary? Because never mind. The tunes are all lighthearted melodies that fit well with the game and lend to the overall charm. I do like the stage 2 and 3 music though. Overall, the game is not that difficult, but it's no walk in the park either. Even though the game is somewhat short, there is a password system that is simple to enter and makes it even easier to tackle at your own pace. The only reason I think this game was passed over was that it came out at the end of the Super NES life cycle. The PlayStation was released just a few months before this title, and Nintendo and the rest of the publishers and developers saw what was coming down the line. To release a title and pour money into it at such a time would have been a pretty dumb business decision. Also, I'm not sure how well Super Bonk sold on the Super NES, but by the time that one came out, it was already deep into the Super NES life and the console was leaning heavily toward RPGs and adventure games. So maybe it did not sell well as Hudson had hoped for and did not want to publish a sequel. Again, I'm just assuming. It is a shame though, like the sequel to Milon's Secret Castle and even games like The Adventures of Ralph on the PS1, platformers were still popular but not the hot selling product from a few years back, with 3D and 3D-like worlds being the new thing. And if you stayed with 2D platformers, then as a developer, you had to find ways to get the attention of gamers, with Donkey Kong Country being a great example of this approach. As fun as this game is, it doesn't have the visual appeal that gamers were clamoring for back then. Still, it is a game that I highly recommend to anyone out there with the chance to play it. It doesn't require a lengthy amount of time to get accustomed to the mechanics, and you can always play it in short spurts and use the password system to pick up from where you left off. Plus, it's Bonk. I mean, how can you not like Bonk? Don't answer that, England. Anyone out there still a fan of the Bonk games? Ever played this one, or was Super Bonk on the Super NES your only exposure to this series outside of the TurboGrafx or PC Engine? More importantly, should Bonk make a comeback? If you want the real Bonk experience, then you have to play the 16-bit Bonk titles to get that magic feel of the caveman craze era. Until next video, keep watching and keep gaming.